get started. Thank you all for being here tonight. Really excited about this presentation. I would like to introduce to you Dom Fusco. Dom Fusco went to Dickinson College. He was a football player there. He was the captain of the football team my last year as the assistant AD there. He also worked in my office in the marketing department. He is now the host of the podcast Pure Ambition, which can be found on Spotify. He is also a content creator. He is head of growth for the company Upspace, as well as a personal trainer. So he does a lot, but I will let him go into his presentation, but really excited to have him here tonight. So Dom, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Justin. I appreciate you guys. And we'll start this because content creator. So, what's going on, everybody? My name is Dom Fusco. As Justin mentioned, I had the opportunity to work alongside Justin in the Red Devil Sports Network over at the athletic department at Dickinson during my time there. He's a great guy, so don't give him too much trouble. But before we get going, I know you guys, it's been a long day. It's rainy, it's dreary. I want everybody to stand up real quick. Let's get some moving. Let's get the blood flowing. Let's bring the energy up a little bit in here. All right, so we're just gonna bounce a little bit. All right, just stand here. We're gonna bounce a little bit. All right? We're just gonna go in a little bit. Blood flow. You know. There we go. Good. All right. We're gonna reach hands up. We're gonna grab your right hand. We're gonna go to the left. And we're gonna grab the right hand. Left hand. We're gonna go to the right. And then go again. There we go. Back to the other side. Back to the side. Then we're gonna go down. We're gonna rise up. Then we're gonna go down. We're gonna rise up. And we're gonna smile. All right, everybody give me a nice big smile. Nice. All right, good. Get the endorphins going. There we go. All right, cool. Now we can begin. All right, so Justin mentioned I do a lot of different things. I have a podcast called Pure Ambition, which is all about helping people become the best versions of themselves through health and fitness, mindset. I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of athletes, professional athletes, coaches, trainers, and the reason I started it was during COVID. I was at Dickinson, I was playing football, and I had went through a series of injuries, and I was really feeling low. I was probably at my darkest place that I had ever been, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, everything during that time. And there was a lot going on in the world at that time too, and I saw it as an opportunity to I just want to bring some light to people. That's one thing, if I could leave you guys with anything, is just one smile, one kind gesture that you put out into the world will be reciprocated to you. The energy you put out into the world will be reciprocated back to you. And you really have the power to influence anybody. You know, whether that's just holding the door for somebody, whether that's just flashing a smile to somebody as you're walking down the hallways. You never know who might need that pick-me-up, right? So maybe it's a teammate. You guys are all athletes. Maybe it's a teammate who needs to pick me up. Maybe your coach needs to pick me up. Maybe you need to pick me up. But if you need that, give it out to the world, and that will be reciprocated back to you. So I started the podcast, like I said, during COVID, and I just wanted to bring some light to people during that time. I didn't know what I was going to talk about. I didn't know who I was going to interview or anything. All I knew is I was very interested in reaching my potential. I don't know about you guys, but I've always had this feeling in my gut that I was capable of doing big things in this life. And I've done a few things, but I don't think I've scratched the surface of what I'm truly capable of. And I think that I know that every single person in this room is so much more capable than you could even think, that you could even begin to imagine. But that success, that growth, that person that you're trying to become, that you're meant to become, they don't just appear. It doesn't just happen. You have to show up day in and day out, and you have to choose to begin to become that person that you want to be, right? And so tonight, I less want to talk about me and my accomplishments and what I do and all this, because none of that really matters, because we're constantly evolving as people. If you become so content with the identity that you currently have, I'm a football player, I'm a track runner, I'm a tennis player. You know, we become so attached to these labels that we put on ourselves, that society puts on ourselves. And so rather than like always thinking of yourself as the student, like as the athlete, it's like who is the person that you are? You know, like when people ask you, like, oh, who are you and what do you do? What's your sport? And it's like we're constantly identifying ourselves as that. But you guys are so much more than just the sport that you play. So I want to preface it by beginning with that. But again, I don't want to sit here and talk about me the entire night. What I want to do is I want to talk about, excuse my wretched handwriting, I want to talk about unlocking you. Because there's the person that you are right here. There's the person you are right here. And then over here, there's the person you're becoming. Right? And that's the version of you that you always want to look at. You want to constantly be thinking about the person that you're becoming, that you want to become. You know, all-American, all-conference, you know, all-sportsmanship team. Maybe you just want to be, you know, the best backup player that you can be. You know, whatever your role is, live in that. You know, like, there's the person that you are right now, like I said, and then there's the person you're becoming, right here, the person you're becoming, and then there's this weird gray area, right? There's the middle of like, okay, Dom, I hear what you're saying. There's the person I am right now, there's the athlete I am right now, and then there's that version of you that you want to become. You know, maybe when you were a kid, or, I mean, you still are a kid, but maybe when you were younger, you know, your parents tell you, you know, you can be an All-American, you can be All-Conference, you can go Division I, you can go Division II, you can go Division III, you can do whatever you want, but it's like, how do you get there, right? And that's where that middle ground is. And what that middle ground is and how you get there is integrity. Does anybody want to tell me what their definition of integrity means? Or what they think it means? No wrong answers. I'm just curious. No takers? All right.
Doing the right thing or doing what's best for you when nobody else is around.
That's good. I like that. Anybody else have another definition? All right, well, we'll go with that. That was a pretty good definition. And that's pretty much what I would define integrity as, is doing what you said you were going to do for as long as you said you were going to do it, and continuing to do that day in and day out. You know, you see those Nike commercials and those Gatorade commercials of, you know, the person who, they're getting up at 4 a.m., they're going out there for the run, they're going out there hitting the gym, you know, Kobe Bryant, getting, you know, training for 20 hours a day, all those things. Not saying that you guys have to do that, because I think sleep, we'll get into that, is one of the most important and valuable things that you guys can do as student athletes to get to that person that you're becoming. So right here, I'm not telling you guys that you shouldn't be content and happy and proud of yourselves for the person that you are, for the athlete that you are, for the student that you are. Grateful and content, but never satisfied, because there's always that version of you that you can become, and there's always that person that you can get better. So integrity is also coupled with discipline, right? And discipline, don't think of it as like being disciplined, you know, by the teacher, by parent, by the coach. Discipline is just showing up. Right? Discipline is, again, doing what you said you were going to do, for as long as you said you were going to do it, and showing up even when you don't feel like it. Because those are the days, and I'm sure you guys have had those days, where you don't feel like getting up and going to practice. You don't feel like going to the gym and lifting. You don't feel like going and get those extra shots in after practice. But that is the defining thing that gets you from here to there. And as Justin knows, like I wasn't like the best player on the team there. I didn't have the most talent, you know, but I did have a work ethic. you hear it all the time, it's like, work hard and good things will happen to you. But like, guys, my freshman year at Dickinson, I was a 2.7, 2.8 student, and I was not playing at all, and I was very much a me person. I was thinking about, like, for me, I'm sitting on the bench, I'm a freshman, not showing up to meetings, not showing up to practice with the intention of getting better, right? And so I went from being a 2.8 student my freshman year and not playing at all to a 4.0 student my senior year, team captain, all-conference player, and started to become to that next version of myself. I had to completely get rid of this version of me in order to get over here. And so it was integrity, and it was discipline, and it was showing up and controlling the output and not worrying about the outcome of the situation. Because you can always control how much output you put in, and how much work you put in, how much effort, how much intention, how much focus. Ultimately, like, no matter how hard you work, like, I know we got some lacrosse players in here, like, unless you could have an amazing game, but if everybody's not on the same page, like, it doesn't matter. You're not going to win. Like, that was one of the biggest things I learned when I went back and played my senior year was I trained every single day. I was in bed I slept for nine hours a night. I was at the gym, twice a day. I was out on the field. I was watching film throughout the summer. I did everything. Like, looking back on it, I have no regrets in terms of my senior year. And we still, we finished at like 4-6. You know why? Because all you can do is show up and pursue the best version of yourself day in and day out. Not worry about the outcome of the situation, and just focus on the work that you have to do day in and day out. Consistently good versus occasionally great. There's plenty of players out there, I'm sure you guys know them too, it was like, man, they had all the talent in the world. They were so good in youth football or youth baseball or youth softball or youth lacrosse, and it just never worked out. They never lived up to their full potential because they didn't have the work ethic, they didn't have the discipline, they didn't have the integrity, and they were so focused on just who the person that they are, look at me, rather than how can I get better, right? And so I told you guys a little bit, I have a podcast, and ambition is a word that really, I don't know why, it just like fires me up. Ambition, it's a cool word, right? And for me, ambition means relentlessly pursuing the best version of yourself day in and day out. And I've done 97 episodes, coming up on 100, pretty stoked about it. But I've done 97 episodes. I've interviewed some of the top performers in the world, and I've gotten to really, ask them what makes a high performer. Like, what is the mindset required? Like, what are the things that I need to do in order to become a high performer? And it's not just in your sport, guys. It's you want to perform. Performance is just how you show up and operate and do your job. So you can perform in the classroom. Or you can perform freaking playing video games. You can perform in the way that you show up and hang out with your friends. In everything that you do, you can perform better. Like, in all areas of your life. Like, the things that we're going to talk about, they don't just apply to athletics. But you take those same principles and you apply it to everyday life. It's not a matter of if you're going to be successful. It's a matter of when you become successful. There's a great analogy from Will Smith's book. You guys don't know who Will Smith is, right? Genie, he was a genie in whatever, Aladdin, right? Pursuit of Happiness, whatever. You guys know. So he talks about in his book that his dad told him and his brother that they had to build a wall, right? They had to build a brick wall, and bricks laid everywhere, cement everywhere, and him and his brother were like, Dad, you're out of your freaking mind. There's no way we're ever going to build this dang wall. And he was like, don't ever tell me, and Will was like, that's impossible. And his dad was like, don't ever tell me something's impossible. And what did they do? They just stacked a brick, couple bricks every day. Stack the bricks, show up, pretty soon, you guys probably guessed it, there's a wall, right? They built the wall. And then him and his brother were so ecstatic, Dad, like, we built the wall, we did it. And he looked at me, he goes, how did you do that? So it's like, don't ever tell me anything's impossible, right? So, I love that analogy of just stacking bricks, because we always set these goals for ourselves. Like, again, like, I'm gonna be an All-American, I'm gonna be on the all-academic team, I'm gonna be, what's the National Honor Society, that's the one. I wasn't in that. So there's all these things that we say that we're gonna do, and we're gonna try to accomplish, and we're gonna aspire to get to. But we don't ever have a process of what that looks like. We have the plan, or we have the goal in mind, but then we don't ever establish the integrity or the discipline or the plan of action in order to get there. So, I mentioned that I've done a lot of interviews with some of these people on my podcast, and just been able to connect with a lot of really cool people. And I've kind of like constructed, and I applied this to my training going back into my senior year. Because I lost my senior year. I thought I was never going to play football again. I tore my ACL my sophomore year of college. That led into my junior year, where then I had a back injury where I missed half the year, which led into COVID, which led to my senior season being canceled. So I went from being like, I got 4 years, like, I'll just work hard, and senior year is going to be great. I didn't get that, and luckily, I decided to take a semester off so I could go back and play. But I realized, like, when I got the email saying, schools, we're not coming back this fall, all sports are canceled, immediately I had a ton of regret. I had a ton of regret because I knew that I could have given more. And it, like, gives me chills to think about, because the last thing that I want to do is get to the end of my life and look back and say, I wish I would have done this, or I could have given more there, or man, I was being lazy there. I really left a lot on the table there. I never unlocked me, right? Because I think we all have so much potential that we don't tap into. And what I want you guys to walk away from tonight is that anything is possible in your life. But you have to think and visualize and see the person that you're becoming, and then backwards plan and have the integrity and the discipline in order to do so, right? And there's a couple key factors that I'm going to share with you guys that I took and I applied to my training, to my lifestyle, that has really, like, amplified and enhanced my human experience, and that I apply still to my daily life. I apply the same principles that I had playing football to now I run marathons, and I apply the same thing there. But I apply the same thing to business and entrepreneurship and relationships and everything. It all is interconnected. Right, so we're going to talk about 3 things. And we're still going to be unlocking you. Well, I'm just going to erase this bad boy here. All right. So, has anybody ever heard the word holistic? Anybody ever heard that? All right, you got it. When you hear holistic, what does that mean to you?
All inclusive.
There you go. I like that. Integrative, all-inclusive. So I like to think of this, I call it a holistic approach to training and life to unlock you, to become that version of you that you've always envisioned for yourself, right? And so the first area we want to look at is the mind, right? So the mind is the most important thing. The brain is the driver of everything that we do in life. If we're not taking care of our mind, if we're not taking care of our mental health, nothing else matters. Because if we can't show up and be our best in the classroom, with our friends, at practice, in lifts, on the field, on the track, nothing else matters, right? We always put so much emphasis on the body, which we'll get to later in this talk. We put a lot of emphasis on the body in our training, right? And always taking care of our bodies. Football was like, how much can you deadlift? How much can you squat? How much can you bench? Like, it was all about numbers. It was all about being strong. And there was nothing, I was never taught, like, about the mind and the power of the mind. And when you strengthen your mind, you know, the body achieves what the mind believes. So when you're able to strengthen your mindset, you're able to have more fortitude, have more strength mentally to go out and accomplish whatever it is it may be. And seasons, guys, as you know, seasons are short. Like, you may have 10 games, 10 meets, whatever else in a year. What are you doing outside of those 10 weeks, those 10 games, those 10 meets? That's what dictates your performance on the field, in the pool, on the track, whatever else it may be. So there were a few things that were like, when I found these and I started implementing them into my life, I could not believe that every single kid in America wasn't being taught this as a kid. And I got pissed off because I was like, I probably would have been like, yeah, whatever, like this isn't true when I was a kid. So I won't say that. But I try to tell everybody that there's these mental performance practices just as much, and they're just as important, if not more important, than the physical practices. And I did this, I'm not kidding you guys, I did this every single day leading up to my senior year of college. And it was a routine, it's called visualization, right? So I know you might have heard it before, like, oh, you know, visualize yourself having success, you know, see it. I think it's spelled that right. Visualization, right? So I want to actually teach you guys this right now, and quick, it's like a minute, and you know, hopefully this opens up a new door for you guys. But I want you guys to take a second and just relax and just close your eyes. And sit back in your chair, close your eyes. And I want you to visualize, I know we got some parents in the room here too, but I want you guys to visualize your last performance, your last game of your high school career. You know, visualize the atmosphere, the stadium, the crowd, teammates, your jersey. You know, how does it feel to put on that helmet, to lace up those cleats, knowing that that's going to be your last game? What does it smell like? Is it cold? Is it warm? How are you feeling? You get that butterfly feeling in your gut. And now I want you to visualize yourself during the game, playing the game, and doing your best. Warming up, jogging on the field, standing on the diving block, lacing up, whatever else it may be. Visualize yourself in the game. Visualize yourself having that success. And now, I want you to visualize what it looks like when it's all over. Because contrary to popular belief, guys, it all ends. It does. And then you move on into the next stage of your life. But visualize yourself, you know, hugging your teammates. Maybe you guys won. Maybe you guys lost. There's a tie. See yourself in how you feel when that's over. And now, think about, what is the feeling that you have? Did you give it everything you had every single day in your training sessions, in your stretching, your mobility sessions, your nutrition, your sleep? You know, are you happy with that person, with that athlete that you are in that moment? Now I want you guys to open your eyes. And I know that can be a difficult thing to look at, you know, and a difficult thing to think about, because it's tough to think about the the end, right? It's like you don't want to think about it until it happens, right? And so every single day, I would start my morning with this visualization practice. And I actually listened to it on YouTube, and I can share that with that same one with Justin. He can send out to you guys. It's like 8 minutes long. So every day, I would come down, I would drink a big glass of water, I would do my stretching, and then I would go sit on my back deck in the same chair every day, and I would put on my headphones and I would listen to this visualization technique. And what I thought was really cool about it was it takes you through just your day. Not always like the game and what the game day atmosphere looks like, but how do you go about your day? What are the foods that you're eating throughout the day? Are you eating, Pop-Tarts and Frosted Flakes, or are you eating, some good eggs and, maybe some turkey bacon or orange juice or whatever else it is? Are you fueling your body properly, setting yourself up for success that day? Going to school, going through classes. What's your energy like? At the end of the day, are you moping around? Are you like, oh, another day of practice? Or do you look at it as another day to get better? Another brick stacked, right? Because every day is an opportunity to stack more bricks and start to build your wall, build your foundation for the person that you're becoming. So like I said, guys, the body believes what the mind achieves. And there's a lot of high performers out there. Somebody who I just released a podcast with a guy yesterday who almost made it to the NFL. He even gave up his NFL dream. But he said visualization was the most impactful part of his training that he ever had. He played at the University of Nevada, and he said that he would do visualization every single day. And the craziest thing happened in his last game. He said he scored a touchdown pass, and he felt like he had been there before, like he had seen that in his visualization practice. So it's really, really powerful stuff. So I just wanted to share that quick little exercise with you guys, just because, one, it centers you. It brings you back down. There's a ton of stress always going on in life, right? You guys have a ton of stuff going on. You've got practice, you've got extracurriculars, you've got school, you've got a social life, you've got a part-time job. Like, on top of that, you're supposed to get adequate amount of sleep and eat the right things and, maintain, I don't know, like social media presence or whatever you guys are doing. Bottom line there, guys, is your mind, you're always in control of your mind, right? There's a lot of outside factors that you can't control in life. You can't control the weather. You can't control the traffic in the bus drop-off line. You can't control how somebody treats you, whether that's in the hallway or on the field or whatever else it may be. There's a lot of things that are outside of your control, but the one thing that is in your control is your mind and how you view different things and how you choose to show up and how you choose to operate day to day, right? So visualization is one thing that really, really changed my life, changed my perspective on training, and I now take that into my daily life, right? So I visualize, again, what my training now is not football anymore, it's mostly running, but what is it going to feel like I ran my first marathon last year, so I would visualize what race day looked like. I knew it was going to be in Philly, so I looked up the course, I familiarized myself with everything, I visualized myself the night before, what it looked like getting up, what I was going to eat, the sounds, the sights, how I was going to feel, everything, right? So visualization is a huge piece that can be utilized for you guys to become the best version of yourself and unlock you. The second thing to talk about is the body. We have the mind and we have the body. I mentioned to you guys probably the third time I'm saying it, but the body achieves what the mind believes. Right? But we have to treat our body like a high performance vehicle, right? So high performance. I love that word. I love those two words together, like high performance, right? We all want to be high performer. You don't want to be a low performer. That sucks. So, high performance vehicle, right? Imagine your body as Ferrari. And the number one thing that you need to do when you have a high performance vehicle is you need to give it the proper fuel. Nutrition is one of the most important things that you guys should be focusing on a day-to-day basis, right? And it's one of the things that you have control over, right? I mentioned a lot of things are outside of your control, but you are in control, for the most part. Your parents, the ones, hopefully you're not shopping for yourselves at this point in your life, but you're always in control of what you're fueling your body with. And it was amazing to me when I started learning about fueling for performance, versus just like seeing food as just food, right? When you see like food as fuel for your body, for your mind, for everything, it completely changes things, right? And so I didn't know how to eat when I was a kid. Like I didn't know what eating for performance was. When I played football, I was just told to eat, right? Like they were just like eat, eat, eat. So I was like, all right, I was eating like 6 peanut butter and jellies and like half a gallon of milk every day. I thought that's what I needed to do. I would take like throw like 3 peanut butter and jellies for lunch every day, and then no wonder I'm crashing at the end of the day and feeling sluggish when I'm going to football practice, right? It's like you're not taught how to eat. On top of that, I was having granola bars and freaking Gushers and whatever other crap my dad had that he thought that I would throw in his brown paper bag. Oh man! But when I really learned how to fuel properly, it was a game changer for me. So I want to teach you guys a little bit like how to fuel for performance. Because it's one thing to like, okay, Dom, I get that, but like, what should I actually be eating, right? So when you think about nutrition, there's 3 things. You have your protein, you have your fats, and you have your carbohydrates, carbs, right? And so all of these work together, and your body needs all of them, but certain types of foods, proteins, fats, and carbs, are better before practice, if you have something during practice, and then after practice. Those are really pre-practice or game, and then post-practice, post-game, post-workout, whatever else it may be. It's really important that we're giving our body what it needs both before and after. So I didn't even know what the difference between a protein and fat and a carb was until, honestly, I was in college, right? And so you have your proteins, which are things like meats, dairy. You have your chicken, turkey, beef, steak, all those kind of things. You have your dairies, you have eggs, things like that, Greek yogurt, milk, and then you have your nuts. Actually, those are the here, but you have other things. So really, it's like you always want to have a protein at each one of your meals. Protein is the building block for our body, and it also helps us recover after. So like protein. That's why it's like always have a protein shake after you work out or after your meal, because it's an easy way to get that protein in. Because what do you do when you work out? You break your body down. So that's why we need to replenish, and we need to have protein after. We need to have adequate amounts of it as well. So then you have your fats, and fats are very important, especially for kids your age, which your bodies are still developing. And it's important to be taking in lots of nutrients from fruits and vegetables and other plants, which have amino acids and minerals and vitamins, and those are what help the body function properly. They don't necessarily give you the energy like proteins, fats, and carbs do, but they help deliver the nutrients that you have in the proteins, fats, and carbs to the rest of your body, right? So that's why having fruits, vegetables, plants, all those kind of things filled with nutrients, right? Whereas a Pop-Tart, freaking delicious, I love Pop-Tarts, they don't have any nutrients or vitamins or anything like that, right? And so, what are fats? Fats are things like peanut butter, regular butter. Things like olive oil, avocado, also dairy again, and then things like nuts and seeds. Right, so these are all things that we need. Meats, dairy, peanut butter, olive oil, dairy, all that kind of stuff. Right, so it's important that we know the difference between proteins and fats. And, you know, people say, oh, I'm having protein, I'm having peanut butter. Peanut butter has twice as much fat as it does protein. So yeah, you get some protein in there, but predominantly it'd be better to have something alongside some proteins. And then we have our carbohydrates. And carbohydrates are the main fuel source that you guys are going to have for your workouts. Like, you need to be properly fueled in order to go out there in each and every training session, in each and every game, and perform and fuel your best. So, carbohydrates, things like fruits and vegetables, things like your whole grain breads, emphasis on the whole grains there, whole grain bread, you know, toast, things like that, bagels, pasta, rice, potatoes, I spelled that right, all those things, right? So you can even throw, like, you know, cereal, oatmeal. Those are things, those carbohydrates are our body's preferred fuel source. So that's why having carbohydrates throughout your day, and especially before, recommended like 60 to 90 minutes before any of your training sessions, before any of your games, practices, all that. That's going to really give you that fuel to amplify your performance, right? So proteins, fats, carbs. Dom, that's great. But what should that look like? How do I build myself a healthy plate so that I can go out there, perform my best, and also recover at my best? Very easy, right? So like for the most part, most of your meals, this is a plate right here. You break it down, something like that. You get your proteins here. So fill a quarter of your plate with protein, a quarter of your plate with carbs. So, i.e., anything from here, and then half of your plate should be fruits and veggies. And then you have some fats in there too, right? So pretty easy, we can build a plate right here. You take chicken, boom, that's a quarter of your plate. You take rice, boom, that's a quarter of your plate. And then you got watermelon, you got grapes, you got apples, and you got maybe like a big salad or something. So if you can look at your plate every time you have it, and again, granted, you can't stack a plate in your brown paper bag for lunch or whatnot, but if you could try to stick to this, that's going to really help you a lot, right? And on days where you have a game, you can just adjust this because you need more carbohydrates on those days, right? So that's when half of your plate's going to be carbs. That's why you hear like have a big bowl of pasta, you know, the night before. Like it's not just, we're not just saying that. Like there's a reason that you guys want to go out and have that big pasta, right? So really, really important, guys. Nutrition played a huge role in the success that I had my senior year, and it's still something that I put a ton of emphasis on, right? And there's quantity and there's also quality, right? So eating high quality foods, basically just, guys, if you can eat more things that come from the ground, more things that come from animals, like those, it's going to help you overall improve your performance, right? So the other thing with the body is honestly more important than nutrition is sleep. One thing that I found crazy was that people who don't get, athletes specifically, who don't get an adequate amount of sleep each night are 70% more likely to have injuries than an athlete who is properly well rested. 70%. And the recommended amount of time of sleep is 8 to 9 hours for high school athletes, right? And so if you're staying up late, on TikTok or Xbox or all the things that TikTok wasn't around when I was in high school, but all the things that I did, and I stayed up till 2 a.m. and would get up at 6 and think that I was properly rested, like I was 70% more likely to get injured. Maybe that was why I had a bunch of injuries, right? So either way, sleep is if you can do anything, if you take anything away from tonight, just get more sleep, because that is the number one factor. There's 6 factors of optimal performance, and the number one is sleep. So if you think of like a fountain, right, and it like pours into other things, sleep is the number one thing that I would recommend that you guys focus on, because it can be an absolute game changer. So now we've talked about, guys, that visualization is a way to strengthen your mindset. It's a way for you to build that discipline and that integrity for yourself, so that you know what you have to do on a day-to-day basis. You know the energy that you need to bring. You know how you need to show up. And then we have the body here, so we know the things that we need to look for in terms of nutrition. We need to get our proteins, fats, and our carbs, specifically getting protein in at every meal, and especially after working your body hard. Because think about it. Imagine you're just breaking your body down, breaking your body down, breaking your body down, and you're never giving it the building blocks to build back up. It's just never going to get back to where it was, and it's never going to get better either. So you can't from here to there if you're not having those building blocks to recover. Right, so we talked about the mind, we've talked about the body, and now we'll talk about spirit. Right? And spirit, before you guys completely turn away because I said spirit. Think of spirit as just your connection and presence to the world around you. Right? Like your spirit, your soul is what your interconnectedness to the world around you is. Right? And so people like to think like, the spirit and the mind, they're the same thing. But really, it's not, right? What I think of the spirit as is my purpose and my why. Right? Like if I have these 2 lemons right here, right? And I personally brought them today. Think about this. Think of your life as these lemons. Right? At the end of my life, I want these lemons to be bone dry. Because I look at these lemons as like my potential in life. And I want to squeeze everything out of these lemons. Right? Like if you say you're given 2 lemons at the end of your life, you don't want them to be full at the end of your life. I'm trying to make as much lemonade as I can throughout this life, right? Like it's like when life gives you lemons, what are you going to do with them? I mentioned that earlier, guys, that my biggest fear and the thing that scares me the most in life is just regret. Because there's so much information out there, guys, there's so much free information. There's so many people out there that want to help you. The possibilities are endless for yourself. Like you guys really are limitless if you choose to I'm going to squeeze the living crap out of the lemons that I'm given in life, and I'm going to always focus on the person that I'm becoming. But I'm getting slightly off topic. Not really. But spirit, okay, that is your why and your purpose. Purpose is such a powerful word, because purpose deals with intention. And when you have a purpose, when you know why you're doing something, you're more likely to give your best effort for it. Right? Like if your mom just signed you up to run track, there's no purpose there. Your purpose is because your mom signed you up for track, so you're just there doing it. Right? But if your purpose and your why is I'm the captain of this team, and I want to take this team to districts, I want to take this team to states, now you have a purpose. My purpose is the freshmen, the sophomores, the juniors are looking up to me to lead this team. So when you have that purpose, and when you have that why, then you're able to, it gives you the motivation and the discipline to do these things, right? all of the things here. And motivation, I hate motivation. I hate the word motivation because it makes you wait. It makes you wait for it. It's like, you know what? I was gonna do my homework, but I just wasn't motivated. Or I was gonna put in the extra shots after practice, but you know, I just wasn't feeling the motivation that day. That's where discipline comes into play. Because discipline and action creates that motivation. Once you just show up and you start doing it, that's when the motivation comes. That's when you keep doing it. You keep doing it. You keep seeing progress. You keep feeling better. And so maybe like, okay, I'm starting to eat healthy. I'm starting to get more sleep. Like, I'm starting to do the visualization, but I'm not really, you know, I'm not there yet. I'm not at All-American. I'm not All-Conference. I'm not in the NHS. It takes time. Every day is another opportunity to stack another brick, right? And so your spirit and your purpose and your why, that creates the discipline. That, and then turn, creates the motivation for you guys to keep showing up, to keep being the best versions of yourself, and keep trying to unlock you, right? So I really want you guys to just think about, you know, what do you want your life to look like? What do you want your story to be? And how do you want to be remembered? Because each and every day, we have the opportunity to leave a legacy. And it's not just on the field. It's not just in the classroom. But it's like, how do you want the people around you to remember you? You know, how do you want your family to talk about you? How do you want to be remembered? Right? And so, the mind, the body, and the spirit, the holistic approach to training can also be applied to your everyday life. And so, I want to just let you guys know that from a kid who always was a kid who would cut corners at practice, not go all the way and touch the line, that would drop down during planks when coach wasn't watching, that would always just try to take the easy way out, and never reached my full potential in those areas. And I look back on all those times in my life where I could have done more, but I had no discipline and I had no integrity, and I was only focused on the person I was, and I didn't think about the person that I was capable of becoming. So I had you guys visualize early on what it looked like when sports was over. And what's so cool about this now is, like, you have that feeling. Like, you put yourself there into that feeling. You know what it feels like the last time you put the cleats on, the last time you put that uniform on, the last time you go through that pregame ritual, right? You know what that feels like, and you have the opportunity now. If you were like, oh man, that didn't turn out the way that I wanted to, and when I had you guys look back at the process leading up to it, now you can see, okay, well, I know that I gotta stay after practice every day. I gotta watch more film. You know, I've gotta work on my fundamentals. I gotta do all the small things. I gotta clean up my nutrition. I gotta get more sleep. You guys have that opportunity because it's not over yet for you. For me, like, I can't go back to my high school days and, you know, I wish I could have done more, but I can't. But that senior season that I had was transformative for me. And honestly, like, COVID was the best thing that could have happened to me, because if it wasn't for that, I'd probably be working a job that I don't like, texting my friends all day saying, man, you know, we could have had an amazing season our senior year. Because I still get those texts from my friends who didn't go back and play. They still have those regrets of they wish that they could have done more. So my advice to you guys is to always think about the lemons that you've been given in life. Think about that person that you're becoming, that feeling that you had early on when we visualized. What does that feeling look like when you're having success? And then what are the things that you need to do in order to become that person? Because you all have greatness inside of you. Every single one of you. I believe that. even if you don't believe it in yourself yet, keep showing up, keep putting in the work, keep stacking those bricks, and you are going to become that person that you're gonna reach new heights and you're gonna have new accomplishments that you never would have thought possible. And so if you never had that person tell you that, like, hey, I believe in you, you have opportunity to do amazing things in this life, not just in your time here, but wherever you decide to go. If you decide to go to college, if you go and play a sport in college, whatever you decide to do in life, you can take this holistic approach of taking care of the mind, the body, and the spirit, and you can apply that to your everyday life, and you can unlock the best version of yourself, and you can get to the end of your life and look back and smile because you knew that you gave it everything you had and everything you did, and you tapped it into your full potential. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate your time, and I just really am grateful for the opportunity. So thank you guys for your attentiveness, and I hope that you continue to pursue the best version of yourself and unlock the new version of you every single day. Thank you. Yes, I would love to open it up to any questions. I know I just sit up here and ramble and talk about myself for a while, but I would love to, if anybody has any questions, I'd love to answer them. I know it's late. All right.
What's the name of the podcast?
It's called Pure Ambition. Yes, so it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever it is. Check it out. But yeah. And then I do a YouTube channel too, so you guys can check that out. I'm on social media. So yeah, I'm basically anywhere on social, you can find me and some of my stuff.
Advice would you have for the young athletes here that might be aspiring to play college, athlete? Any fears they might have, or how to get over that, or what would you recommend for taking by the horns?
Yeah, 100%. So I would say don't wait for opportunities. Don't wait for coaches to come to you. Like, don't wait for opportunities. Make them, right? Like, you have to be proactive. It's never been easier to reach out to a coach, an assistant coach, another player on the team of the school that maybe you're interested in. Because if you're just waiting for a school to come to you, then a lot of times it'll just end up being too late. So be proactive with it. You know, social media, Twitter is huge for recruiting. I don't know how much they talk about, like, I'll talk about that, but like Twitter is huge for recruiting, and you can go on and you can find a head coach, an assistant coach, a player, somebody from any athletic department, anywhere else. So I would say if you have aspirations to go play in college, make a list of 20 schools that you would be interested in playing for. And for me, I ended up playing D3, and it was I had always wanted to play D1. I wanted to play D1. There were a couple of D1 AA schools that I talked to, but it just didn't work out. And honestly, playing Division III football was it was the best thing that ever happened to me, the best thing that could have happened to me. So one is don't think that you only have to go to these top schools. Broaden your perspective a little bit. Think about the majors that you're interested in, and go visit the schools. Visit as many schools as possible. Like when I visited some other schools, and when I walked on the Dickinson's campus, it was like, oh, this just in my gut feels like this is where I'm supposed to be. So go to different schools. You might get to a school that you had no intention of going to. You might get that gut feeling that I had of like, oh, this wasn't my top school, but I just have this gut feeling of like, this is where I need to be. And I wouldn't be here talking to you guys if I didn't make that decision to go to Dickinson. So make a list, and then find the people through social media that you need to reach out to. And that's just another thing is people are always watching you, no matter what you're doing. So don't be an idiot on social media and think is what you put out into the world lives there forever. And I've seen it ruin a lot of people's lives really sad, but it can also amplify your life and give you some leverage there too. So just be very, very conscious of what you're putting out there on the internet. Yes.
Other than like sleep and eating healthy, what advice do you have for the athletes about recovery? So like in preseason, even like season when you're playing like 3 games a week, what advice would you have for them?
Yeah, 100%. And so I will say, like, number one, if you're sleeping enough, you're gonna recover much better than if you're not getting enough sleep. But things that I like to do that if you have access to, is a sauna is amazing. So I know there's a lot of gyms that have sauna, cold shower and like cold like ice baths, cold exposure, doing that like contrast of hot cold therapy. Has been honestly a modality that I still do in my training. Definitely would recommend that. Like one of the best things you can do on like a recovery day is you do like 20 minutes in the sauna, and you do like 3 minutes in an ice bath or cold shower, 20 more minutes in the sauna, 3 minutes in the cold bath or cold shower again, and you're gonna walk out of there feeling like $1,000,000. And another thing is just mobility too, because you always hear like stretching, but stretching hits like the belly of the muscles, so like, like your quads, your hamstrings, your glutes, like all those things, which are also really good. But doing active mobility stuff, like every day, like I'm watching a YouTube video on like a mobility follow along, because that really works the joints and the tendons. And when you take care of the joints and the tendons, then the muscles tend to be looser and you'll be able to recover better as well. So those are probably a couple of things for sure. And another thing is, for recovery, talk about nutrition. Like right after a hard training session, or like those 2 days or whatever else you're talking about, having a shake, making like a protein shake with what's like called like a 2-to-1 carb to protein ratio. So for example, you could have like a banana and a cup of oats. That's about 50 grams of carbohydrates right there, and then like a scoop of protein powder, which is like 25 grams. 2-to-1 carb to protein. Having that right after a hard training session will allow it to help you with your muscles and everything that you broke down to replenish better. So yeah, that's another thing. Anybody else?
Any other questions? Well, if anyone does have any questions, follow up, let me know. I can connect you with Dom. Like I said, he has all his podcasts. If you want that information, I can send that to you guys as well. I can also I'll send it out to the coaches so they have it as well. But if you have any questions throughout the week or want to follow up, I will happily connect you with Dom. But again, thank you all for coming tonight. Hope you really enjoyed it. I know this was, Dom and I are very excited about doing this, so I hope it's something that we can continue. And again, thank you for coming, and look forward to seeing everybody tomorrow.
Thanks again, guys. This is, and if you want to connect with me, if you ever do have any questions, that's my Instagram handle. You can connect with me there. Shoot me a DM. More than happy to help with any questions you guys might have. So thank you, guys. I really do appreciate it.